Today, we're diving into some ancient Stoic wisdom to build a totally practical toolkit for a more peaceful life. We're going to translate these old ideas into 4 powerful rules you can use, like right now, to build your own inner fortress against all the chaos of the modern world.
So, let's just start with a really honest question. Do you ever feel like stress is just running the show? Controlling your mood, your day, maybe even your whole life? For so many of us, right, an unexpected problem doesn't just slow us down. It can feel like it completely breaks our spirit.
But what if the problem isn't really the problem? The Stoics had this radical idea that most of our stress doesn't come from what happens to us, but from our own rigid expectation that life should go exactly according to our plan. And that's the core idea we're going to dig into today.
Okay, so first up, let's talk about the kind of stress we actually have some power over. You know, we live in a world that is just full of noise and pressure and distractions. And if you don't take control of your own mind, you'll spend your whole life just reacting to everything around you.
This probably feels super familiar, right? It's that feeling of being constantly pulled in 1,000 different directions. Your focus is shattered, your energy is just drained by stuff that ultimately you can't even control. Honestly, living that way is just absolutely exhausting.
And it leads you right here, to this state of being just paralyzed by the anxiety of things not going exactly to plan. So here's the kicker. The goal isn't to create a perfect plan. It's to build a mind that doesn't break when the plan inevitably falls apart.
So that brings us to our first 2 rules, and these are all about closing that massive gap between what we expect and what's really happening. Think of them as tools for navigating a world that you just can't predict. All right, rule number 1, accept the unpredictable. I know, it sounds simple, but this little shift changes everything. Your stress isn't coming from the traffic jam itself. It's coming from the expectation that the road should have been clear. Real peace begins when you accept that life doesn't follow your script.
And this, right here, illustrates the difference perfectly. A rigid mindset, it fights every single obstacle. It demands certainty, and it breaks under pressure. But an adaptive mindset, it's like water. It doesn't fight the rocks in its path, it just flows around them, adjusting to reality without losing its balance.
Okay, now for the second rule. Focus on progress, not perfection. You know, perfectionism sounds really noble, but let's be real. It's a trap. It's the ultimate killer of progress. It makes you overthink, it makes you doubt yourself, and it keeps you waiting for that perfect moment that, spoiler alert, is never going to arrive.
This number represents such a powerful idea. Instead of trying to do this huge, overwhelming overhaul of your life, just aim to get 1% better every day. You might think these tiny steps don't matter, but trust me, they compound over time into massive, real change.
So here's the secret about confidence. It's not something you need to have before you start something new. Not at all. It's something you build by taking action, especially when it's messy and imperfect and you don't really know what you're doing. You just show up, do the work, and confidence follows.
Okay, let's move on to our next section. We've talked about navigating the outside world. Now let's turn inward and focus on strengthening your inner fortress with 2 more really important rules.
Rule number 3 is to practice gratitude, especially on the hard days. Now, this isn't about pretending your problems don't exist, not at all. Think of it as a strategic tool to keep your perspective, so you don't let what's wrong completely overshadow everything that is still right in your world.
This is the question you have to ask yourself. When things feel heavy, your mind naturally zooms in on the problem until it feels absolutely enormous. Gratitude is the skill that forces you to zoom back out, to see the whole picture, and remember the solid foundation you're still standing on. And come on, let's be honest, we've all either seen it or done it ourselves. You let some tiny, trivial thing, like somebody getting your coffee order wrong, completely hijack your peace and ruin your morning. Practicing gratitude builds a buffer, so your mind stops getting hijacked by nonsense.
And that brings us to our final rule. Be courageous in the small moments. We tend to think of courage as some big, dramatic, heroic act. But the real courage, the kind you can actually use every day, is much, much quieter. It shows up in those small, daily choices that nobody else even sees.
So what does that look like? Well, courage is admitting you were wrong. It's trying again today after you failed yesterday. It's finally saying no to something to protect your own peace. It's speaking up for what you believe in, even when your voice is shaking. And it is absolutely not abandoning your own boundaries just to avoid a 5-second awkward conversation.
So, how do we put all this together?
Because this isn't just some list of cool ideas, right? This is a framework for a daily practice. It's a whole new way of living that you build one moment and one choice at a time.
So here it is, your complete toolkit. Number 1, accept that life is unpredictable and learn to flow like water. 2, choose messy progress over paralyzing perfection, every time. 3, use gratitude as your lens, especially on those hard days. And 4, practice small, quiet courage every single day.
Look, a peaceful life doesn't just happen by accident. It is built by choice, one choice after another. So my final question for you is this. Which one of these 4 rules will you commit to practicing today? Just start with one small action and see what you can build from there.